Welcome everybody to yet another episode of War and Peace Baseball. I think we should just get started. Today we mourn at the passing of one of the great superstars in the game, Jose Fernandez. I think this is the last thing we want to wake up to this morning, and Jose Fernandez passed away in a boating accident, and another thing that happened this week in the past week in the family was in the family of Jan Gervis Solarte. His wife passed away to cancer. So before we start anything, can I ask you two to join me in a moment of silence, remembering wonderful people in the baseball family? All right. Thank you. I don't know if you two heard this, but I'm going to tell you what I thought. I think Brewers manager Craig Counsell said it best about Jose. How he performed on the field and just how he was kind of reminds you of the joy that brings you to the game. I think that's what makes this so sad, is that he reminds you of the kind of joy that can bring you to the game.
Yeah, and clearly the whole baseball community is really in shock right now, trying to comprehend how to move forward. Obviously, thoughts and prayers are with the families and friends of Jose and all his teammates, of course. It's quite a devastating event. The games today have been not games. The Marlins-Braves game today has been canceled for obvious reasons, and it is really tough. It's a hard thing to swallow, and moving forward is going to be the hardest part about this, but I think right now the easiest thing to do is remember his legacy, everything that he's done for the game, the amazing person he was on the field and off the field. That's really what needs to be done going forward. So
I think one of the things that I will definitely never forget about him is that he's just one of those guys that, like, yes, he had that dynamic upper 90s fastball. Yes, he had that insane off speed. Like, his whole repertoire was insane, but whenever he was on the field, he was smiling. He was like a kid playing baseball. There's only a select few number of guys in the major leagues that I think still act like that. Like, there's superstars like Robinson Cano. He plays very laid back. He doesn't act like that. And then there's a guy like Trout or Jose Fernandez. They look like they're genuinely having fun, and that's one thing that I will probably never forget about him.
Yeah, and I think the best way to say it is his personality is as electric as his stuff was, and that was something that was, it makes it even harder to accept that he's gone, because he was such a spark plug, not just for his team, but for the entire game. He was so much fun to watch, and, now we are, there's one less amazing person in the world like that, and, he had a heart of gold. He was friendly to everybody, even though it didn't seem it on the field all the time. He was very heated, he was very passionate, but he was genuinely a great person who inspired a lot of people throughout his life, and I can't imagine how everybody that was close to him must be feeling right now. Rudy, do you have anything else to add? Any memories?
I mean, it's always difficult to find the correct words in a situation like this. I mean, it's just tragic. I honestly could not believe it when I read the news when I woke up this morning, that he had passed. It's just hard to think of it as real. And my best wishes go out to his family and loved ones, to the Marlins organization and fans who just lost, one of the best players in their team history, and a great person. And just a great, personality at the game. I think really needed in an era when baseball really needs the most electric and personable players, and needs more of them. They just lost one of the best. So it's just a giant blow to so many things.
I think after I was trying to comprehend what happened this morning. After that, I'm still in shock. I'm still I'm still heartbroken that we lost him. But I went on I saw this post. I saw his Instagram, and I don't know if you guys saw it. Last week he posted a picture of his pregnant wife announcing that his wife's pregnant and like excited for the journey they're gonna have together. So just from that, and I know how much he loved his whole family. My thoughts and prayers go out to his wife, his kid, his mom, his grandma, everyone that loved him, all of his fans. I know D. Gordon. I sent you guys that picture. D. Gordon, all of his teammates. It's a very tough thing.
Yeah, and I feel, right now it's fitting to, kind of reflect on how great he was as an athlete, as a baseball player. He was truly dominant. He posted in his career, his very short career, 38-17 record, 2.58 career ERA, and 589 strikeouts in only 471 innings pitched, 1.05 WHIP. That is, that's a Hall of Fame track for a guy like that, and it was cut short very unfairly, and I think his greatness will live on in his legacy. People will not forget about even in his short amount of time, one of the greatest Marlins that's played the game. So that's about all I have to say on that. So, yeah.
Rudy, what about you?
I guess my final thoughts are just, first of all, please, if you're doing anything such as boating or driving at dangerous speeds, please do not do it late at night without proper lighting in dangerous conditions. And
also, I'm sorry, Rudy. May I also add, he was one of 3 people in that accident.
Yes.
We're not only talking about him. There's 2 other people whose families' lives have been affected. Who's
right.
We need. My thoughts and prayers go out to them and their families as well.
And my other thing is just that his start got pushed back, so there's a chance, if they didn't push back that start, he might have never been on that boat. So I know you don't want to think of it like that, but it makes it even sadder, to be honest.
Yeah,
I completely agree. Anything else, guys?
No, I think it's best to move on right now and try to keep things going as they would be on any other day. So
let's move on to something a little bit more us, a little bit happier. It's that time of year again, guys. It's it's where the teams start clinching and the spoilers start spoiling.
The champagnes are flowing.
The champagnes are flowing. This week, the Rangers, the Cubs, and the Nationals have clinched their division.
Yeah, the Cubs way before anybody else.
Well,
that's worth mentioning.
Yeah, but like still, out of those 3 teams, do you guys think one of them is the World Series winner?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Cubs or the Rangers or the Nationals, and why?
It's.
I think.
You go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you can go.
Well, I think the most fun World Series to watch would be a Cubs-Rangers World Series.
I agree.
I completely agree with that.
So
I completely agree with that.
Wishful thinking on that.
Yes. Which one of those teams do you think is the World Series winner?
Well, clearly all 3 of these teams are a cut above the rest in that regard, and it's really impossible to project, something like the postseason for that reason. And it's mostly just about gut instinct at this point. Like, what teams do you think have it in them, have the players that will perform on the biggest stage? The Cubs showed they did it last year, and the Nationals just haven't really done that yet. And the Rangers certainly have. They have some veterans there that really have, and a lot of electrifying players. So that's why I'm rooting for that matchup.
For me, I personally think when you obviously take a team as good as the Cubs are, but then you look at last year, they got pretty far for a team that hadn't been in the playoffs for years and years before. And that was a very young team. They're still a very young team, but I think they've learned, and I think right now, if they get to the World Series, I think Wrigley is going to be an insanely tough place for any opposing team to come and play the Cubs that have not only Arrieta, not only Lester, they have Hendricks, who's had an amazing year. Lackey, who's done a good job. Hamill, Hamill's good. He's a very good 5 guy.
They don't even need to start him.
They don't even need to start him. I mean, I think even if you take the fans out of it, I think baseball-wise itself, the Cubs are just like a bit higher than any other team in the league. And I, too, am rooting for the Rangers-Cubs World Series because I just think that'd be really fun to watch. And I just think the Cubs are that much better than any team.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Cubs are definitely a cut above I think everyone else. I would say they have any weakness is maybe their offense doesn't have outstanding on-base skills. Not that their offense isn't outstanding in general, but they don't have a ton of guys whose specialty is getting on base, so that possibly could maybe end up being some small issue in the playoffs, considering the most successful playoff team in the past 2 years before us, the Royals, their main skill offensively was just getting on base and then working from there. I don't think it'll end up really making a difference, but that's just the only thing I could see that could maybe hurt them. And then they also have, I think, a way easier, I think not maybe way easier, but I think they have a generally easier path to the World Series than an American League team.
Yeah, this you're talking about a team that's already clinched home team advantage all the way to the World Series. Basically, that's how good they are, with a week and a half left to play.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to mention that there are a couple other teams that are very close to clinching. And
yeah,
it seems
I was about to bring that up.
Yeah, so go ahead and mention those ones.
I mean, when you talk about the teams that are close to clinching, there's the Indians, who are currently 90-64. They're 7 up on the Tigers. There's the Dodgers, who are 89-66. They're 7 up on the Giants. They haven't clinched a playoff spot or division, but they're well on their path to doing that. The Dodgers have a 1 game. The Dodgers have a magic number of 1. The Indians have a magic number of 2. So those 2 teams are basically their division winner. When you go past the Indians and Rangers, and Red Sox so far in the American League, there's the Orioles. There's the Blue Jays are first in the wild card right now. There's the Orioles, and then Tigers are half a game back, and then Seattle's 2.5 back, and Houston's 3 back. How do you guys think the American League wild card is going to end up shaping out?
If I had to bet money, I'm going with Tigers and Blue Jays, but that's just me.
Oh, so you think Baltimore's going to not make it?
I mean, I don't like Baltimore, and I've always not liked them the entire season. So
year after year,
I don't think this is a question on if you like them. I just think
no, I don't. No, I'm saying I don't like them to make the playoffs in the end. I don't like them personally. That's always been my stance. That I don't think they have the pitching to ultimately make it.
For me,
obviously, they currently are in it, but I've always stand by my belief that this year they don't have the pitching, and I'm gonna stick with that. I'm not gonna revise my position.
I completely agree with you. I remember every year they make the playoffs. I just think they're very good at making regular season teams, good regular season teams. But then when you look at their pitching, their pitching is not enough for a deep postseason run. I mean, I agree with you. I would say it's going to be Toronto and Seattle for the top 2 for the wild card game in the American League.
Yeah, year after year, we continue to doubt Baltimore just because of that one main reason is the pitching. And year after year, they seem to find a way to make their way into the playoffs. So
I invite them to try to prove us wrong, but I just think they're very good at being good in the regular season. But then if they make the playoffs, I don't think they have.
Also, let me just be clear. First of all, I'm not saying they're going to make they're certainly going to lose the last 10 games of the season and totally miss the playoffs. They could definitely make it. I just have to choose between them or, more. I mean, a team has to not make it. That's currently in contention.
So tell me why. Tell me why.
And then two. But let me just finish. And then 2, I do admit their pitching this year is probably better than it has been in years that they have made the playoffs. I will admit that. So I'm not saying it's like incredibly terrible because there's no doubt that Tillman,
I just don't think there's
Joss, Jossman, and Bundy do give some quality innings on their starts, and their bullpen is obviously very, very good. But to me, the Tigers are just Verlander and what's his name? Who's the rookie who's in the Rookie of the Year race? Who's probably going to win it if Sanchez gets Fulmer? And I think Zimmerman continues to get healthier at each start. I think that's a more dependable 1-2-3 punch than Tillman and two basically rookies. And we all know that young starting pitching from the Orioles does not usually turn out well.
Wait, are you telling me Wade Miley is not a superstar?
Yeah, I mean, and their offenses, I think, are equal, personally. You guys might disagree with me on that. I think they're broadly equal.
Oh, no, the Orioles have the best offense in the game. That is not a question in my mind.
I don't think they're equal, but I think that I don't doubt that. No, I know the Tigers' offense is very dynamic. I just don't think they're equal to the how good.
Okay, maybe it's okay. Maybe that's fair. Maybe it's. I think, the starting pitching of the Tigers is better than the Orioles' starting pitching. Then the Orioles' offense is better than the Tigers' offense, in my opinion. Maybe that's wrong. That's how I feel.
Well, I have to argue on one major issue with your whole Tigers pitching staff argument is that Michael Fulmer really has not been the same pitcher in the last 2 months of this season, and that is a big deal. He's an
ERA under 3.
He's been average to below average in the last 2 months of the season, and that's what counts going forward. I think he is fatigued.
The entire Orioles staff is average to below average.
I'm not saying that they're. I'm not arguing the Orioles are better than anybody on that front. I'm just saying that I don't think the Tigers have enough to make that final push, and I would argue that the Mariners of any of these teams have that energy to do it, and they've been winning every day for the last couple weeks. It seems like so.
So you think the Mariners are going to take? So wait. To be clear, we all are saying Toronto's going to get the final spot. I mean, the first spot. We all believe Toronto's going to make it.
I think so. They have enough starting pitching. They have the offense. They are.
I'm just being clear.
They'd belong there. And yeah. So.
I mean, I personally, if I had to pick a team that's not my Yankees to make it, I want the Mariners to make it, just because I think they've just been tortured long enough, their fans, and I think it'd be fun to see King Felix finally. I don't think he's ever made the playoffs, right?
Nope.
So that would be. I just think his career, he deserves it. Not that that's a good reason, but I guess just from a fan's perspective, they would be nice.
I mean, I get that.
They're 2.5 back, so they would have to continue, and they just lost yesterday, I believe. So they have to heat up, but they could have it in them.
I think they certainly can. Yeah.
I think everything. I think that's a very real possibility. Now we've talked about the American League. Let's go to the National League. We've already said the Nationals, the Cubs, and the Dodgers are going to clinch sometime soon. But for the wild card, there's the Giants, and the Mets and Giants are tied for first spot basically, but they're 1 and 2, and St. Louis is only half a game behind, and then Pittsburgh's 4.5 behind. How do you guys think this is going to shape out?
I mean, Pittsburgh, I don't think as a
I think Pittsburgh's going to be.
Actually, I'm impressed how well they even did this season, considering pretty much everything went wrong, and they traded their closer for seemingly no reason at midseason. But I personally think, just because I can't imagine living in a world that the Cardinals don't make the playoffs, I think they're going to replace the Mets. But that's just me.
Yeah, and
I don't.
It's hard to say because of one fact is that the Mets do have the easiest schedule going forward.
No, I know that.
I think they have at least one more series against the Phillies. It's really been like that the last week and a half, it seems, where they've been playing very weak teams. They just finished an interleague matchup with the Twins, and they're winning a lot of games with seemingly very little support from their pitching staff. It's been okay, but it's really just been the fact that they've been facing a weak schedule. And Yeah, the Cardinals do have that bit of magic in them, it seems. I think, they're well within striking distance at this point.
I will say this. This is by far the worst Cardinals team in like 10 years, at least.
Yeah, but
Like,
also
it's-
the best power-hitting Cardinals team in 10 years.
Yeah,
so-
but that's like their only strength at all.
Yeah.
Like their starting pitching is horrible. Their lead pitcher, their closer, who we thought who's their closer for now and forever, fucking blew apart. Their offense is in every other statistical category is mediocre at best. I mean, they've had a ton of injuries. This is probably finally the end of an insane dynasty that withstood the test of time and their best player leaving them. So,
yeah, and to just expand on the Mets' easy matchups point here is that they still get to play. They're playing Philadelphia right now and beating them. They have a series against Miami, another against Philadelphia, and it seems like another against Miami. No,
can I just say something?
Another against Philadelphia. It's insane.
Can I just say something? Hey, to be fair, Philadelphia is the best offense in the past 7 days in the major leagues. Just
In the past
FYI.
7 days. Atlanta Braves have one of the better offenses in all of baseball since the All-Star break. So
Can I just say one thing about the Mets?
yeah,
Who would have guessed? If you would have told me by the end of the season their starting pitching staff would be Noah Syndergaard, Bartolo Colon, and 3 guys who I've literally never heard of, and I think are randomly generated.
Seth Lugo has been
the
very
show player.
effective for them.
But if you would just told me that was their
And,
starting pitching staff, I would
Robert-
have said you're fucking crazy.
Robert Gazelman or whatever his name is, like
Yes,
wow.
and Gabriel Yanoa. And they have James Loney at first, Jose Reyes at third.
Jay Bruce was a bust.
Jay Bruce, for some reason, they traded for. Your best friend Michael Conforto on the bench.
Hey,
Best friend, not boyfriend. Keywords.
yeah,
Probably the weirdest collection of players. They're both. I will admit though, their DL team is quite a good team.
Yeah.
But
if
yeah.
only we had the DL postseason.
very weird season post World Series appearance for the Mets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of Ui's boyfriends, how do you guys think the Rookie of the Year matchup, Rookie of the Year race is going to end
can I
up?
just say something? Sorry,
Yeah.
one more thing. So we're all just all in on the Mets even year, making it, even though they've fucking been beyond disappointing second half. We're still
Are you
we're
mean
all
the Giants?
yeah. What'd I say? The Indians,
The Mets.
The Mets.
the Mets. I'm sorry, I meant the Giants.
What? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the Giants are still going to make it. I just think that teams, there's no way they can have that good of a first half and then be this shit.
I just think it's funny that watch them win the World Series, of course, after this horrible, by their standards, regular season.
That's what they would do, to be honest. All right, are we ready to move on?
Yeah, Rudy kind of spoiled the transition there, but I thought it was.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I did say, speaking of Ui's boyfriends, how do you guys think the Rookie of the Year races are going to end up? I think in the National League, we mentioned this. Trey Turner's a competitor. I think he's the only competition to Corey Seager. Am I wrong?
Yeah, Corey Seager is an MVP candidate. That's how good he's been. But Trey Turner, any other year, really would have been in contention if the Nationals hadn't been so stubborn and played him earlier in the season. I can only imagine what his numbers would look like right now. Definitely a big Trey Turner fan going forward, especially for fantasy, because I take him in the top 3 rounds of next year's redraft leagues. That's how good he is. Maybe in the top 2, because let's see how many games. Let me read the stat line that he's posted this season first. 336 average, 12 homers, 27 stolen bases, and a 917 OPS in just 65 games. And if you take a full season's worth of that is absolutely a top 5 player in all of fantasy baseball. And I think he definitely can do it. He's he's definitely got that much talent. It's a small sample, but it's big enough
I
to
ju-
see that the talent is real.
I just think it's too small of a sample size to like beat out Corey.
Yeah, I
Oh,
would
yeah.
agree.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
So I might as well go ahead and bring up the American League guy since
That's
Gary
what
Sanchez needs to win it. I don't give a fuck about sample size. He hit 19 home runs in 47 games. It doesn't matter. It's over. He needs to win it. It doesn't. I don't care. There's no argument to be made. It's not because I'm a biased Yankee fan, even though it totally is. That's the only reason. He needs to win the MVP. He needs to win the Rookie of the Year and the MVP.
It's not just fast. It's the fastest in MLB history to reach that many home runs in this many games.
I see both sides of the argument. I mean, in 46 games so far, Gary Sanchez has hit 330 with 19 homers, 38 RBIs, 21 walks. And then there's Michael Fulmer, who's in 25 games, I think. The Tigers are 18-7 in his starts. He has a 2.95 AL best ERA. He's sixth in the league with a 109 WHIP. I mean, obviously Fulmer had a much better first half, and he's kind of slowed down a lot. But I don't know. I think Gary Sanchez, if it was if he played more than 46 games, I think he'd be a lot more obvious as a choice. But
so can I ask this? Can
yes.
I put it this way? Do I think if he had played, let's say, 100 games and had this stat line, when I guess by like appreciation he would probably have like, let's say, 60 RBIs instead of 38.
And then how many home runs? 28.
I'm just saying. Let's say it's still 19 because that's still very good. Would you then give him the Rookie of the Year? He probably would win the Rookie of the Year because that stat line is still incredible.
That stat line is still incredible.
There comes a point where sample size is irrelevant if you're that good. And I think this is the point. And I'm actually a very, very big sample size guy. It definitely dictates a gigantic. I mean, it's why I think it should not be Trey Turner in the NL. But Sanchez is on a level that's, I think you just can't ignore it. I don't think it's, and as good as Fulmer is, Fulmer's level is not. I think it's very close, but I think Sanchez
who's made more of an impact?
It's just slightly better.
Who's made more of an impact on their team? On their respective teams?
I would say Sanchez. I think he's kept the Yankees in contention almost single-handedly.
I wouldn't say. Okay, obviously, I think Sanchez has made an insane. What's it called? An insane impact on the team. I think he has kept them in contention. I think he has put a lot on the table for the Yankees. But I don't think the Tigers would be where they are right now without Michael Fulmer. I don't, because when you look at Zimmerman, he's been banged up this year. When you look at Verlander, he's been decent. He's been good, but like as much as he slowed down in the second half, I think he still had a much more impact on his team than Gary Sanchez is.
Okay, let me just put it this way. Gary Sanchez has 3.3 WAR. That is the second most out of all rookies. All of them. The second most.
Yeah. I see, this is, I'm not saying I think Michael Fulmer should be the clear-cut Rookie of the Year. I'm not saying Gary Sanchez should also have.
I'm just last thing, and then he has more wins above replacement than Michael Fulmer. Think about that.
Michael Fulmer's WAR is a 5.
So
no, on Fangraphs it's a 2.9.
So
maybe I'm looking on a different rate, but Fangraphs says Sanchez is a 3.3 and Fulmer is a 2.9.
I don't mean for this to be the Michael Fulmer roast because I already mentioned his regression, but I think Fulmer would have easily had this locked up if he maintained his pace, which would have just been impossible. But in his last 7 starts, in like the last, this is important going down the stretch. He's posted a 4.23 ERA in those 7 starts and only 35 strikeouts in 44 innings pitched, and a 1.14 WHIP is still okay, but that's not dominant. That's not Rookie of the Year stuff.
Yeah.
And I think, Gary Sanchez is that good. He's definitely surpassed Fulmer in that stretch, and that's why you play the full season. Everybody was saying Fulmer had this locked up a month and a half ago, and then Gary Sanchez comes on the scene, puts up these numbers, and Fulmer regresses back to this, and that does matter. And that is the reason why Sanchez should be the Rookie of the Year. It's that simple in my mind.
See, for me, I haven't said that. Oh, I think it's for sure Gary Sanchez or it's for sure Fulmer. I'm deciding between, but I'm stating the case for Fulmer right now. Gary Sanchez, obviously, we've seen what he's done. He's been very exciting. He's provided so much for the Yankee team that just recently traded away a bunch of their guys for prospects that will help them be that dynamic Yankee team in the future. But Gary Sanchez has just come onto the scene and put up insane numbers. I don't think there's. I mean, for me, there's no definitive. I'm not as clear on who's gonna win it as you guys are. Because do you guys think Sanchez? Do you guys want Sanchez to win, or do you guys think he is going to win? Because there's a difference in how the voters vote versus how we believe it should happen.
I think both.
I want him to win. I think he deserves to win. I don't think he'll win.
I think he will win. I do 100% believe he will win. I
think when you look at the .330 batting average and then the 19 home runs, you say, oh yeah, and the 30 RBIs in the amount of games he's played. Oh yeah, he definitely deserves to win.
When you're throwing the word historic out for any rookie, that is very likely to be the Rookie of the Year. I'm just going to say that. And he's also topped the WAR report for the last two shows, and I think now would be a good time to transition into this week's WAR report.
Would you like to lead that, Uwe?
I would love to, actually. Only in the last 2 weeks there have only been 3 players to post wins above replacement of 1 or higher, and they're not players that you'd necessarily expect. At the top of this list, both posting a 1.1 WAR, was Freddie Freeman and Odubel Herrera.
Fucking Odubel.
To be fair to Freddie Freeman, the past 2 months he's been insanely on fire. He's essentially turned his career from being a mildly disappointing one, a la his former teammate Jason Hayward, into showing once again why, 3 years ago he was one of the brightest young players, the most, brightest, as in most promising young players in the game.
I don't think he was ever Jason Hayward low, but I do see what you mean. And I know you are a Freddie Freeman owner in a keeper league, and I want to get your take on what your opinion is of him going forward in future years.
I think one thing that hurts him a lot is that his team sucks, and there's not a lot of protection in his lineup.
Thinking long term, is he going to stay that way? That's what you have to be thinking at this point.
Well, he's already 27, so you have to think he has at least 4 years of peak level that he could pull off with no injuries. You would think though he does have a lot of mileage on him already for a 27-year-old. But just looking at considering how bad Atlanta's team is this year, he still could end up with 100 RBIs. Definitely should end up with 100 runs. He walks a ton, which is a very underrated aspect. And his power, this is by far his best power season. Not even there's no comparable season for this much power. So if he can maintain that power going forward, I think he's he's definitely a top 10 first base man at the least. If he keeps up if the season at this year is what he's going to maintain for the next 2 or 3, I think he could even be a top 6 first baseman maybe. Is that unreasonable?
Yeah, no. First baseman is not a very strong position, and Freeman is definitely near the top of that position there, for sure.
It's funny because I own him and both Will Myers, and they essentially flipped this season. Will Myers had an incredible first half, very disappointing and mild second half. Freeman, complete opposite. So they're about the same age, both first basemen on terrible teams. So it's an interesting dilemma which one to keep.
That is really interesting.
They're kind of comparable players. Myers is a little bit younger, and has less track record, but they're broadly, they've had a similar season in that sense.
Mm-hmm. Well, they do have a little bit different strengths. Like Will
Games,
Myers is a little more of a speed
Fast.
guy.
100%.
And then
Freeman's more of an average guy.
Yeah. But I'm not even talking 4 years down the line. I'm talking next year. The Braves could have a very good offense. This second half of the season has been a very electric offense already. Like you look at some of the guys they have coming up.
Francoeur.
I mean, things can change in the next year, but you talk about some of the other centerpieces they have coming up. Dansby Swanson is here. Ozzie Albies is one of their other top prospects, is major league ready at this point, and I guess they're just stopping the clock on him. But he's ready, and he is going to be there. They're going to have one of the better infields in all of baseball. There's something to be said for what's been going on. Matt Kemp has been inexplicably great for them in the second half of the season. I don't understand it, but it's true. They have had a good offense, and they were one of the notoriously worst teams in baseball in that category the first half of the season. I don't know. But that's just the reality of it, and I think Freeman's going to be fine. I think he's, like you said, definitely possibly a top 5, definitely a top 10 first baseman going forward. The other player that I wanted to mention in the WAR report was Dexter Fowler, who posted a 1 WAR over the last week. That was a little bit surprising to me because he just got back from an injury, and there have been a lot of really hot Cubs. I didn't think Dexter Fowler was going to be one of the ones at the top of this list.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
And he had a ridiculous season last year, best of his career. And he decided to sign a 1-year deal, I believe, with the Cubs. Maybe I'm making that up, but I'm pretty sure that's what he ended up doing. So it's good that he's kind of heating up at the end of the season post-injury to get that, get paid after this year. Yeah,
they definitely have all the makings of a World Series team right there.
He signed a 1-year 13, and then it's a 17 for 2070 as an option. Yeah,
good stuff. So that's about it for the WAR report, and that's going to be about it for our podcast today. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. As always, there are places you can check us out and support us. You can leave us feedback on Twitter at WPB_podcast, and of course, email, and you can also check out our website. Links for that will be down below. Everything will be down below in the description. So, once again, thank you for joining us. Thank you guys for coming out today. We'll be back to talk about all the end of the season magic and the postseason to come in our next one. So I'm looking forward to that. As always, Farbode.